Hello aviators, Sky here, and we are returning to glorious business jets. Our time is often called rather boring. People say everything that can be invented has already been invented, and manufacturers are simply making optimal products with optimal demand in the market. And that's not a lie. Aviation is a huge, complex, and expensive industry. The cost of error is high, and no one is in a hurry to take risks. On the other hand, the creation of an optimal aircraft for the market is not as simple as it sounds. What if the market wants a product that does not fit into the traditional framework? What if the wishes of customers contradict the capabilities of technology? It is necessary to strike a balance between opportunities and the price that you will have to pay for them. We're about to meet an example of such a big game of balance. Pilatus PC-24 is a light jet aircraft which on the one hand is one of the members of classic business aviation and on the other hand creates its own niche. Let's get acquainted with the representative of a rare breed of versatile business jets. It all starts, of course, with another plane. The history of this aircraft begins in the 2000s, when Swiss aviators were thinking about the legacy of their main brainchild, the PC-12 turboprop. This plane is amazing. Pilots love it because it is easy to fly, operators love it because it is undemanding and quite cheap to operate, passengers love it because, with all its simplicity, it is very comfortable. Plus, it has many unique features. A large cargo door, variety of configurations, low demands to the airfield infrastructure. The balance formed by its creators gave outstanding results. The PC-12 turned the entire market inside out, conquering a significant part of it. By 2019, the Swiss delivered more than 1,600 aircraft of this model. The success of the PC-12 turned Pilatus into a major global aircraft manufacturer. Naturally, having gained decent authority in the industry and, what is also important, resources, the Swiss decided to move on. The question immediately arose: where will they move? This question was asked to the market itself. The company conducted extensive marketing research, interviewing customers. The results of these studies were in principle to be expected, but still somewhat puzzling. The PC-12 gave rise to a trend. Everyone wanted a simple, economical, and versatile aircraft that could meet the requirements of a very wide range of customers. Naturally, such different clients wanted an aircraft just as universal and efficient, but even better. The PC-12 NG has many advantages, and among its disadvantages were maybe the cruising speed of approximately 530 km per hour and the flight altitude of a little over 9 km, or 30,000 feet. Here customers wanted to expand their capabilities, add speed and altitude, and some extra range wouldn't hurt. Meanwhile, all the bonuses of the 12s had to be preserved. It was immediately clear that it had to be a jet aircraft. No way a turboprop could handle the new requirements. But the problem was that the old engine was the source of many advantages. The use of a jet power plant would solve some problems, giving rise to others. The creation of a classic business jet was not an option at all. Clients didn't need it, and the market was already full. At least such pretty guys as the Cessna Citation CJ4 and Embraer Phenom 300 would be very difficult to compete with. Well, a high-speed business jet with advantages of a slow turboprop is an incredibly difficult task. Difficult, but interesting. Pilatus began to solve this problem in 2007, starting the work to create such an aircraft. Given the complexity and high risks, they did not announce it, working in secret. Nevertheless, behind the veil of secrecy, work was carried out very actively. From the abyss of research, concepts and disputes, the future PC-24 was born. Probably the main challenge was the airframe. At first glance everything is simple, and they could apply the usual scheme of a light business jet. But the difficulty was that the plane needed not only to reach the maximum speed, but also to maintain the minimum. Versatility implies, first of all, the ability to work with a large number of airfields, even the gross runways, and the speeds too high would not allow this. In addition, other Pilatus features had their own requirements, although side doors, cargo compartments and large cabins did not simplify the task. The familiar design would not work, and the engineers had to seriously remaster it. Getting acquainted with the aircraft will be easy and clear for us today, since we have it right here. Let's start with the fuselage. Since the PC-24 concept is a continuation of the PC-12, the overall layout inside did not change much. The cockpit, the door and lavatory behind it, then the cabin, and in the rear the cargo compartment. Nevertheless, higher requirements for both comfort and flight capabilities led to an increase in size. The total length of the aircraft reached 16.8 meters, 2.4 meters or 8 feet more than the PC-12. The tail unit has a classic design, except that to maintain control at low speeds it was made quite large. The keel brings the aircraft height to 5.3 meters, and the stabilizer span is 6.8 meters. Plus, another small stabilizer is installed under the fuselage. While the tail is quite common for such type of aircraft, the wing had to be conjured much more seriously, because it had to keep Pilatus in a wide range of speeds. The wingspan is 17 meters, which is very close to his classmates. However, the usual swept wing could not give the required minimum speed, and the usual straight one, on the contrary, did not allow acceleration. As a result, it was made trapezoid. The high aerodynamic quality of the newest wing, as well as the addition of small tips, did the job. Coupled with the new jet engines, the aircraft can safely fly at a cruise speed of 815 km per hour, at altitudes of up to 13,716 meters. Here it is far superior to its turboprop brother, and is already at the level of other business jets. The speed is slightly lower, and the height, well, FL450 is the same for everyone. However, the requirements for piloting and the ability to fly on a low speed remained. This problem was solved in two ways. First, the wing received a small leading edge extension, both increasing its area and greatly improving its capabilities at low speeds. When the aircraft raising its nose increases the angle of attack, it creates additional lifting force. This design is not new, of course, but its use had a great impact on the aircraft performance. The second solution is mechanization. The wing received large retractable flaps, with additional sections closer to the fuselage, pretty complex for a light jet. Plus a set of spoilers, 4 on each side, makes it easier to slow down. Something is missing. Slats. Additional mechanisms requiring maintenance, increasing weight, and taking up valuable space inside the wing on a light aircraft are hard to justify, so business jets often don't have them, even the large ones. In any case, the existing set was enough. The PC-24 mechanization for a lightweight business jet is very complex, and the task of keeping the minimum flight speed was complete. The aircraft landing speed is 178 km per hour, 96 knots. For a jet aircraft with a maximum landing mass of 7.66 tons, a ridiculously small figure. 150 km per hour, an ordinary car can catch up with it flying at low altitude. When looking at the plane, its center wing box immediately catches the eye. For small business jets, this is quite normal. Unlike the large airplanes, in which the wing consoles are manufactured separately and mounted on the fuselage during the assembly process, for these airplanes the wing is assembled as a one large structure and then installed on the plane. Plus, there isn't much space inside the fuselage, so engineers tried to bring the equipment outside, primarily the fuel system. Close all this beauty with a fairing and voila, the plane has a belly, like a pregnant fish. The fuel system of the aircraft is quite familiar for light business jets. The PC-24 is equipped with 2 wing fuel tanks with 1,685 liters or 445 gallons each. Refueling is carried out through a single unit located in the center wing box. If normal refueling equipment is not available, there are tank hatches installed on the wing, through which fuel can be filled in the old-fashioned way. The landing gear has a classic 3-legged layout, but of course, taking into account operating conditions, it could not do without nuances. The main landing gear is reinforced. Each bogie has 2 wheels at once, with tires of slightly reduced pressure, as well as powerful brakes. The front leg is one-wheeled, and the tire has unusual rubber growth on the sides, acting as a kind of mud flaps that divert water, dust, and foreign objects to the sides. Plus, if you plan to work continuously with unprepared runways, the front gear can optionally be equipped with a protective shield. In flight, the front leg is moving inside the fuselage, while the main gear is not completely hidden. Such a solution is often used to lower the weight and simplify the mechanism. Wheels under the belly can be seen, for example, on the Boeing 737 or on the Embraer E-Jet. All of these solutions make the landing gear more complex and heavy, but the engineers completed the task. The PC-24 works great with short runways, and in the task of flying from grass airfields, it is generally the only one in its class. Such capabilities give access to a huge number of air harbors, from large airports to simple airfields, which means plus thousands of sites around the world. The official announcement of the PC-24 project was held at the 2013 Geneva Business Aviation Exhibition. Pilatus management immediately stated that the aircraft, being the heir to the PC-12, would incorporate its best solutions, adding new features of the jet aircraft. Like the turboprop, the PC-24 was to occupy a special market, light, versatile business jets, its own niche in which other aircraft are simply not present. Given that this concept was perfectly implemented on the PC-12, the Swiss rightly decided that it would be no less promising on the PC-24, and the phrase super versatile jet over time was transferred from press releases to aircraft fuselages. The facts were also on their side. When in 2014 they opened up the possibility of pre-ordering, the first batch of 84 aircraft was fully contracted in 36 hours. At the same time, over the next few years, the orders were limited by the company itself. The PC-24 is a completely new aircraft, and certainly not without childish problems. The company first wanted to work with starting customers, and if necessary, make some adjustments. Finally, we get to the power plant. It was also a serious challenge. The Pratt & Whitney PT6 mounted on the PC-12 is an excellent engine. Simple, reliable, economical. Replacing it with jet engines, preserving the reliability and economy indicators was very difficult. Then, the guys from Williams International got involved. They proposed a power plant made up of a pair of their best turbofans. FJ44 is already a family of well-developed engines that raise into the sky a lot of light jet aircraft. Pilatus received the FJ44-4 version, the newest, the largest, yes, this is the largest version, and the most powerful. In normal mode, they give up to 15.2 kN of thrust, and if necessary, automation can accelerate them to 16 kN. Given the size and weight of the aircraft, this is enough. I flew on it twice, and both times the plane took off very quickly. The engines are not equipped with reverse thrust. This is also a usual solution for small business jets. The fact is that the engines themselves are quite small and light, and installing reverses would make the design a lot more complicated and heavy. It was estimated that a combination of minimum landing speed, spoilers and wheel brakes would be sufficient. So, what else was not applied on this plane? There is no auxiliary power unit on the PC-24. An APU, almost mandatory for larger aircraft, on this little guy, given the size and weight, would be clearly excessive. But we still need our own power source. The plane may be created near the cozy Buox airfield, but it is intended for much less comfortable places, where there may not be any external support. The Quiet Power Mode, or QPM, enters the scene. In the world of light business jets, APUs are replaced simply. They start one of the engines, bring it to the minimum idle modes, and keep it that way, using it as a generator. There is such a feature on Pilatus, but with an addition. The pilot starts the right engine at minimum power in normal mode. After that, he turns on the QPM, and the engine switches to a mode below the minimum, so to speak, with a decreased rotation speed and fuel consumption. And a couple of QPM bonuses, which may be even more important than fuel economy. The first is that in this mode, not only fuel consumption, but also the load on the engine is reduced, so using this feature does not wear out the power plant. And the second, much more important for passengers. According to safety regulations, a pilot can start the engine only after the aircraft is loaded, the people are on board, doors are closed, and the traffic controller gave permission. When you have an APU, the energy is supplied without the engine start. But if there is no APU, go into the cold or conversely hot cabin and wait until you are allowed to start. And only then, the air conditioning system brings the cabin to a decent level of comfort. The new technology on Pilatus allows to use the engine as a full-fledged APU. It starts depending only on the mood of the pilot. and passengers entering the plane will find themselves in exactly the comfort they paid for. Oh yes, since it is the quiet power mode, the engine in this mode really does work a little quieter. Avionics are also not easy. The Honeywell Primus Apex installed on the PC-12 is a fairly simple FS, which is very comfortable to work with, and this is a great way to win over the pilots. The task of the engineers was to create new avionics, more complex, adapted to a jet plane, but at the same time equally convenient. The choice of the supplier was obvious. As a core of the future aerobatic complex, Honeywell proposed the new generation Primus Epic II, a toy for big boys. Epic II is in the core of the cockpits of much larger and more expensive aircraft, including the new Gulfstream models and the second generation Embraer E-Jet airliners. On the basis of Epic II, the Advanced Cockpit Environment Complex, or ACE, was created for the PC-24. Despite the fact that Pilatus, while optimizing the piloting and cost, tried to simplify everything, it is still fully packed. ACE includes 4 12-inch displays, control automation, graphical flight planning, many security systems, synthetic vision with the creation of 3-dimensional maps of the area. The new yokes can immediately catch the eye. They are convenient and functional, but their design is unusual, as if the engineers were inspired by either Gundams or Transformers. Optimus Prime approves. Nevertheless, despite all the complications and innovations, the cockpit promises the same level of comfort in piloting, and many solutions and elements have migrated here from the PC-12 with minimum change. It should not be difficult to master new equipment. The mandatory attribute of Pilatus, of course, has been preserved. Automation allows the piloting of the airplane by one pilot. This is already considered common practice. We interrupt the tour to go into the distant past. On August 1st, 1291, the 3 Alpine cantons of Schwyz, Uri, and Unterwalden took a sacred oath of eternal alliance, in fact, establishing the Swiss Confederation. 723 years later, in 2014, on the same holiday, Pilatus held the ceremony of rolling out the first PC-24 prototype. A cycle of testing and certification had begun. The first flight was performed in May 2015. The prototype P-01 took off from the Buox factory airfield and spent 55 minutes in the air. A bit later, 2 more aircraft joined the party. After some time, the P-02 was sent to the United States, and during the transatlantic flight, it turned out that in the standard economy cruise flight, its speed is higher than was planned. Also, the tests made it possible to evaluate the real indicators of the flight range. With 6 passengers, it is 3,334 kilometers, and with 4, 3,704 kilometers. The tests on short and grass runways also showed excellent results. Pilatus needs 893 meters to take off with a maximum mass, and 724 meters is enough for landing. In December 2017, certification of the aircraft was completed by receiving documents from the EASA and FAA. By that time, 3 prototypes flew over 2,200 hours. Well, finally, it's time to see the part of the aircraft that everyone's been waiting for, the cabin. I'll start with the legacy of the turboprop in the jet model. Despite the fact that the general concept is similar, these cabins are not the same. The PC-24 has a circular fuselage and is larger than the PC-12. The natural result of this is a larger interior space. It is 17 centimeters wider and 8 centimeters higher. Among its closest relatives, the light business jets, the 24 can feel quite confident. In terms of size, it finds itself somewhere in the middle, between light and medium business jets. Before we go further, we need to get acquainted with the main feature of Pilatus, the cargo door. It is, along with the off-road performance, the main advantage of these machines. Other aircraft in the class, even the larger ones, do not offer such things. The PC-24 is equipped with a door 130 centimeters high and 125 centimeters wide. With such dimensions, it may seem that working with it will be difficult, but Despite the similarity to the cargo door of the PC-12, they also have many differences. The different design of the aircraft, the requirements of comfort, and the placement of engines in the tail required to change the layout. Now this door does not lead directly into the cabin, but to the space behind it. Space up to 2.5 cubic meters, more than twice the size of a conventional PC-12 trunk. This solution, of course, also has a price. The engines were shifted more into the back. The door has a rather complex design and it is slightly smaller, and the plane itself had significantly grown in size. Again, the PC-24 is 2.4 meters longer than the 12. The increase in the length of the aircraft also increased the length of the cabin. Although I will note that even though the luggage section had grown, we cannot put any seats in there. Given the performance of the aircraft and the volume of the cabin, a special task was to create the right climate. This work was undertaken by a new air conditioning system located in the tail. When flying onto the ceiling, the system maintains a pressure corresponding to an altitude of approximately 2.4 kilometers, or 8,000 feet. In the passenger compartment, in a purely passenger configuration, the plane can accommodate 10 people, plus 1 to the PC-12. And since the plane can be controlled by one pilot, one more passenger can sit in the cockpit. As a result, a maximum of 11 people. Meanwhile, all the configuration options are preserved. You can make an 11-seat air taxi, you can make an empty all-cargo compartment, or you can install medical equipment, and of course a VIP cabin. Usually it is 6 to 8 seats, in rows or in a club pattern. Our plane has a cabin with 6 seats, 4 looking at each other as a club, plus 2 behind them. Each seat has a usual set of functions of its relatives from business aviation. Retractable armrests on both sides, a retractable footrest and reclining backrest. Indispensable attributes that allow you to relax in flight. Plus, the seat itself is located on a dynamic mechanism that allows it to shift to the sides and rotate around its axis. In principle, this configuration can be called an improved version of the PC-12 layout. Finding all the buttons and levers will be quite simple for the people used to flying on a turboprop. Next to the seats, inside the walls of the cabin, there are large folding tables, niches for personal items, bottles and glasses, several USB ports for charging, as well as comfort controls. Comfort management has its own bonuses. Given that this, after all, is not an economy class, Pilatus engineers had to do something more than a pair of lights and fans. The cabin was equipped with an electric control system, with which you can both monitor the status of the flight and play with many elements of comfort and multimedia. Curiously, it is done not through a special tablet or even an application. This system is technically a website that can be accessed from any smartphone connected to the multimedia network of the aircraft. Yes, it is isolated from avionics. You cannot hijack a plane with your iPhone. Oh, we almost forgot the most important part of any plane. All those engines, cabins and avionics are great, of course, but what about the bathroom? On most business jets, lavatories are located in the rear of the cabin, behind all the main stuff. But on the Pilatus, this place is already occupied. Aviators solved this problem on the PC-12, so when creating their jet model, they simply projected the old layout into the new cabin. The toilet on the plane is located in the space between the passenger area and the cockpit, just opposite from the stairs. Since this place is located almost in the center of the plane, in order to get secluded from friends and colleagues, we will have to carry out a small procedure. First, we need to isolate ourselves from the cockpit. It is usually separated by a curtain, but now we need to open one of the doors and close the entrance to the cabin with it. Next, turn around and close off the passenger compartment. To do this, press a couple of buttons on the walls and release the sliding doors. Since the doors do not completely cover the interior, in order to get fully isolated, we need to open another door below and bring it to the wall. It will magnetize itself. After opening this door, we retract the seat and voila! We can begin the process of pondering the secrets of the universe. Pilatus' pride in this delicate matter, their aircraft is the first in class to be equipped with a vacuum toilet with full external service. Check out the stone floor, by the way. Thin marble tiles are installed on a hard surface. I remember how in Top Gear they tried to improve comfort in a Mercedes in a similar way. However, then they had problems with ergonomics, and controls of the car ended up not very good. After completing this wonderful event, we do the same procedure in reverse. I probably made it sound very long, while in fact these manipulations can be done in 10 seconds. Of course, this is not an ordinary jet toilet space, but it couldn't have been done any other way. And yes, another price of such a scheme. There is no kitchen on board, so if you want to arrange a feast with hot dishes and drinks in a long flight, you should keep this in mind. At the end of 2018, deliveries began. The first aircraft went to operators from Switzerland, the United States, and Australia. Moreover, there was quite a lot of roles for them, from the usual business jet to passenger versions, and the Australians used all potential of their planes. The local Pilatus went to the Royal Flying Doctor fleet. The ability to work on unprepared runways, large doors and open spaces in the cabin where medical equipment can be placed made Pilatuses an ideal solution. Flying Doctors have more than 30 PC-12s in their park, and now there are also the PC-24 that can quickly arrive to any place in the country as long as it has a simple airfield. And this is just one example of, let's say, unusual use for a business jet. In the spring of 2019, more than 30 aircraft were already in operation, and having received first feedback from the operators, Pilatus resumed accepting orders. At the same time, they are not in a hurry to accelerate production. This allows to maintain high demand and the price as well. All the aircraft that will be assembled in the next couple of years have already been sold. And this is considering the fact that the aircraft is not cheap. At $10 to $11 million, a price of the bonuses, the PC-24 is more expensive than its classmates. What can be said in conclusion? The PC-24 cannot be called a classic business jet. In terms of luxury and standards of maximum comfort, it is a bit rough around the edges. Competitors even claim that it is not really a business jet. In addition, it is more expensive and heavy, which shortens the flight range. On the other hand, while for classic business jets the VIP transportation is everything, for the PC-24 it is only one of the roles. It has features that simply cannot be compared with anything, and they make it more versatile and practical. If we take the car example, then classic business jets are premium sedans, such as the Panamera or the S-Class. The Pilatus is more of an SUV or a crossover, something like a Cayenne or a Range Rover, with the according pros and cons. So the airplane is very interesting, on the one hand very specific, on the other very versatile. At least the PC-12 fans will definitely appreciate it. They wanted an improved version of the turboprop, they got it. The game of balance continues. Pilatus made an unusual machine, and only time will decide whether they won in this game or not. And on this, I think, the story can be finished. Thanks for the support and advice to the guys from Swiss Pilatus Aircraft, the Russian Nesterov Aviation, and the Royal Flying Doctor Service of Australia. There cannot be too many interesting people around the world. Like and subscribe to the channel. Luxurious flights and soft landings to you.